My husband died in a car accident. I was destroyed. Then at his funeral, my sister-in-law stood up and announced that my husband had a secret daughter. Everyone gasped. I thought my world couldn't get any worse. But then she revealed what was really in his will, and I realized nothing about my marriage was what I thought it was. I'm going to tell you about the secret my husband kept, who this child really was, and what happened when the lawyer read the real will that changed everything. But first, let me tell you about the man I thought I married. I met Daniel when I was 26. He was 32, successful, charming, and everything I thought I wanted. He worked in real estate development, made good money, and treated me like I was the most important person in the world. We got married after 2 years of dating. It felt like a fairy tale. And if you're watching this thinking about your own life falling apart, hit that subscribe button. Drop a like if you want more real stories. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I love connecting with you guys. We had a good marriage, or at least I thought we did. Daniel worked long hours, but he always made time for me. We traveled, went out to dinner, talked about having kids someday. He was affectionate, attentive, and I never had a reason to doubt him. We'd been married for 6 years when he died. The accident happened on a Tuesday. Daniel was driving home from a work meeting in another city. A truck ran a red light and hit him head-on. He died instantly. The police showed up at my door at 11 at night to tell me. I didn't believe them at first. I thought it was a mistake. But it wasn't. The next few days were a blur. Planning the funeral, calling family and friends, trying to process that my husband was gone. Daniel's family flew in from out of state, his parents, his younger sister Rachel, and a few cousins. I'd always had a good relationship with them. They were supportive and helpful during the worst week of my life. The funeral was on Saturday. It was a beautiful service. Lots of people showed up. Daniel had been well liked. His business partners gave speeches about what a great guy he was. His friends shared funny stories. I could barely hold it together. I gave a short speech about how much I loved him and how much I'd miss him. After I sat down, Rachel stood up. I thought she was going to share a memory or say something nice about her brother. Instead, she walked to the front and said she had something important to say. Something the family needed to know. She said Daniel had a daughter, a 10-year-old daughter named Emily. The room went completely silent. I felt like someone had punched me in the chest. Rachel said the mother was a woman Daniel had dated before he met me. She said Daniel had been paying child support for years and had been involved in Emily's life. I couldn't breathe. People were staring at me, at Rachel, at each other. Daniel's mom looked shocked. His dad's face was red. I stood up and asked Rachel what the hell she was talking about. She looked at me with this sad expression and said she was sorry I had to find out this way. But it was true. She said Daniel had told her about Emily years ago and made her promise not to say anything. She said he'd planned to tell me eventually, but never found the right time. She said she thought I deserved to know, especially now. I walked out of the funeral. I couldn't stay there. I couldn't look at anyone. I got in my car and just drove. I didn't know where I was going. I just needed to get away. My phone started ringing. Daniel's mom, his dad, Rachel, friends. I ignored all of them. I went to a hotel and stayed there for 2 days. I couldn't go home. The house reminded me of Daniel, and now every memory felt like a lie. Had he been lying to me our entire marriage? Was he sneaking off to see this kid while I thought he was working? How did I not know? Rachel called me over and over. She left voicemails saying she needed to talk to me, that there was more I needed to know. I finally answered on the 3rd day. She said she was sorry for dropping that bomb at the funeral, but she didn't know how else to do it. She said we needed to meet. There was something about Daniel's will I needed to see. I met her at a coffee shop. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept. She said she knew I was angry and confused, and she didn't blame me. Then she said the story about Emily wasn't entirely true. I asked what that meant. She said Emily existed, but she wasn't Daniel's biological daughter. I was so confused. Rachel explained that Emily's mother, a woman named Jessica, had been Daniel's girlfriend in college. They dated for about a year before breaking up. A few years later, Jessica reached out to Daniel. She was pregnant, struggling, and the father had abandoned her. She had no family support and didn't know what to do. Daniel felt bad for her. He'd cared about her once, and he didn't want to see her suffer, so he offered to help. He started giving her money every month. When Emily was born, he continued helping. He wasn't pretending to be Emily's father, but he became a kind of father figure to her. He'd visit sometimes, take her to the park, help with school stuff. Rachel said Daniel never told me because he thought I wouldn't understand. He thought I'd see it as him having feelings for Jessica, or being too involved in someone else's life. He kept it secret because he didn't want to lose me. I asked why Rachel brought it up at the funeral if it wasn't even his kid. She said because of the will. Daniel had left money to Emily, a lot of money, and Rachel thought I should know before the will was read officially, so I wouldn't be blindsided again. The official reading of the will was scheduled for the following week. I showed up at the lawyer's office feeling numb. Daniel's parents were there, Rachel was there, and Jessica was there with Emily. I'd never met them before. Jessica looked uncomfortable. Emily looked sad and confused. The lawyer, Mr. Harrison, started reading the will. He went through the standard stuff first. Daniel left the house to me. His retirement accounts, his personal belongings, all to me. Then he got to the part about his financial accounts and investments. Daniel had set up a trust for Emily. It had $200,000 in it. The money was to be used for her education, and whatever was left would go to her when she turned 25. I felt sick. $200,000. For a kid that wasn't even his. But then Mr. Harrison kept reading. Daniel had also left instructions. He wanted me to know why he did what he did. There was a letter addressed to me. Mr. Harrison handed me an envelope. I opened it with shaking hands. The letter was in Daniel's handwriting. He started by saying if I was reading this, it meant he was gone, and he was sorry he never got to explain in person. He wrote about Jessica, about how they dated in college, and how she'd reached out to him years later. He explained that he helped her because she had no one else, and he couldn't stand the thought of a kid growing up without support. He said Emily wasn't his daughter, but he loved her like she was. Then he wrote something that broke me. He said the reason he connected with Emily so strongly was because he'd had a daughter before, with his high school girlfriend. She'd gotten pregnant when they were 17. Daniel wanted to keep the baby, but her parents forced her to give the baby up for adoption. He never got over it. He said helping Emily was his way of making up for the daughter he never got to raise. He knew it wasn't the same, but it made him feel like he was doing something good. He said he never told me because he was ashamed of how much it still hurt him, and he didn't want me to think he was hung up on the past. The letter said he loved me more than anything. He said he was sorry for keeping secrets, and he hoped I'd understand why he did what he did. He said he wanted to make sure Emily was taken care of, but he also wanted to make sure I had everything I needed. He said he hoped I'd forgive him. I was crying so hard I could barely see. Daniel's mom was crying too. Rachel put her hand on my shoulder. Jessica looked down at the floor. Emily was hugging her mom, looking scared. Mr. Harrison said there was one more thing. Daniel had left me a second account I didn't know about. It had over $500,000 in it. He'd been saving and investing for years. He wanted to make sure I'd be financially secure if anything ever happened to him. I felt so many emotions at once. Anger that he'd kept these secrets. Sadness that he'd been carrying this pain about his first daughter. Guilt that I never knew how much he was hurting. And grief. Overwhelming grief. That he was gone. And I'd never get to talk to him about any of this. After the meeting, Jessica approached me. She said she was sorry for intruding on my life. She said Daniel had been a good man who helped her when she had nowhere else to turn. She said Emily asked about him constantly and was heartbroken when she found out he died. I looked at Emily. She was 10 years old, skinny, with big brown eyes. She looked terrified. I asked her if Daniel was nice to her. She nodded and said he used to bring her books and help with her homework. She said he told her she could be anything she wanted if she worked hard. Something in me softened. This kid didn't ask for any of this. She just lost someone who cared about her. And yeah, Daniel should have told me. He should have been honest. But he was trying to do something good in a situation that was complicated and messy. I told Jessica I wasn't angry at her or Emily. I said I needed time to process everything, but I didn't want them to feel bad. Jessica thanked me and said if I ever wanted to talk, she'd be available. They left, and I sat in my car for an hour, just trying to breathe. Over the next few months, I tried to piece together my feelings. I was angry at Daniel for lying, but I also understood why he did it. He was ashamed of his past, scared of losing me, and trying to help a kid who needed it. It didn't make the lying okay, but it made it human. I reached out to Jessica a few months later. We met for coffee. She told me more about Daniel's relationship with Emily, how he'd show up once a month, how he never tried to overstep, but was always there when they needed him. She said he talked about me all the time, how much he loved me, how lucky he felt to have me. I asked if Daniel had ever had feelings for her. She laughed and said no. She said their relationship was purely platonic, that he saw her as a friend and nothing more. That helped. Knowing he wasn't emotionally cheating made it easier to accept. I started visiting Emily occasionally. At first, it was awkward, but she was a sweet kid, smart and curious. We'd go to the library or get ice cream. I didn't try to replace Daniel, but I wanted her to know that someone still cared about her. Daniel's parents struggled with everything. They were upset he'd never told them about the baby he'd given up for adoption. They were confused about Emily. But eventually, they came around. They started visiting Emily too. She became part of the family in a way. Rachel told me she debated for weeks whether to say anything at the funeral. She said she knew it would hurt me, but she didn't want me to walk into that lawyer's office completely unprepared. I understood, even though the way she did it was brutal. Looking back, I wish Daniel had trusted me enough to tell me. I wish he'd let me in on this part of his life instead of hiding it. But I also know people are complicated. We all carry pain and shame and secrets we think will ruin everything if they come out. Daniel wasn't perfect. He lied to me for years. But he also loved me, provided for me, and tried to do something good for a kid who needed help. I can be angry about the lying and still appreciate the man he was. Both things can be true. The money he left me has given me financial security I never expected. I quit my job and went back to school to study something I'd always wanted to do. I travel more. I live a life Daniel would have wanted for me. Emily is 13 now. We still see each other. She's doing well in school, talks about going to college, and has big dreams. The money Daniel left her will make those dreams possible. That's his legacy. Not the secrets, but the lives he changed. After my husband's funeral, my sister-in-law exposed a secret child. I thought it would destroy me. But then I learned the truth. And I realized my husband was just a flawed man trying to do right by people he cared about. I miss him every day, and I've forgiven him for the secrets.